Did you know that Libra represents one-on-one connections, partnerships, collaborations, and co-creation between two equal committed partners? Well, as we are in the middle of Libra season and the middle of eclipse season, I want to share with you all the ways that get in your way of connecting with your soul customers.
Welcome to Star-Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino-Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be.
Welcome back, my friends. Today, I want to talk about attracting your soul customers, but not so much of all the things that you need to do to attract them, but looking at kind of the mistakes that we make and the things that we really need to decide that we are done with so that you can attract all is yours. Now, one of the main questions that I get from my clients or when people come to me for Astrobrand breakthrough sessions and readings is, who are my soul customers? Who are my ideal customers? And how can I serve them? And yes, we can totally see that in your chart. And I answered that originally in episode 119 of the old name of the podcast, The Savvy Luminary, which originally aired 2 years ago now in October of 2021. So if you want to go back to listen to that October 2021 episode, how to identify your ideal customers and co-creators using astrology, go back in and listen, find it in the archives. I'll post that link in the Sunday email also. So if you are on my email list, you'll get that there as well. But even though that episode and that page on my website is one of the most trafficked sites and most listened to episodes, I still find that people are really having trouble with truly speaking to the hearts of their soul customers. And so a couple of days ago, I posted on Instagram a question, as well as in my free Facebook group, also called the Star Powered Podcast. I posed the question to ask, what are your pain points or your struggles or even your successes with client attraction? Now, client attraction is one way to think of this archetype, but I love this idea of soul customer because when we look at your natal chart and who you are here to be and to be visible and to lead and initiate, your rising sign is directly connected by opposing polarity to your descendant, that seventh house cusp. Now, that seventh house cusp, yes, indeed, is the archetype of your soul customer, not just your soul customer, but your partners, your collaborators, your co-creators, the people with whom you're making that one-on-one committed connection with. Now, this shifts, this evolves, specifically as you change, as the world changes. This is never an exact static place, but you can trust that that archetypal energy, it evolves as well. It evolves with you. But at the heart of that archetypal energy is your soul customer. And if you have any other planets in that seventh house, or look at that ruler of that seventh house, that's going to give you much more specificity of who your soul customer is and the problems that you are designed to help them with. And they need you. Okay, so I want to talk. I'm not going to go over the specifics of how to dissect your soul customer. If you want to go back, you can go back to that episode that I mentioned earlier, or if you want to dive deep into who your soul customer is, I have a 4-week intensive called Star Powered Position. It looks at your what, your why, your how, and the who of your business, because oftentimes, even though we're always asking who are our soul customers, the number one mistake that people make when they're attracting their soul customers is that they're not showing up as their authentic, true self. I know, sounds basic, but if you've been trying to be somebody else, if you've been wearing the wrong outfit that doesn't feel like you, if you've been trying to be all the things to every other person, if you don't know who you really are, those issues, my friend, are going to totally prevent you from reaching your soul customer. And one of the reasons why, not only because it's Libra season, thinking about our soul customers and who we are attracting with, but it's also because of this upcoming eclipse. So, the next episode that I'll be sharing will be all about the eclipse season, the upcoming like annular ring of fire, yes, solar eclipse that we're having on October 14th, and then the lunar eclipse in Taurus that we're having on the 28th. I'm going to record an entire episode on just those eclipses. But these eclipses are very much about letting go. In that last episode that I shared about that Aries full moon and the October forecast, I wanted you to remember that Aries eclipse that we had back in April of 2023, so 6 months ago, was intertwined with this full moon that we just had in Aries. That full moon showed us what we needed to let go, like of who we hadn't yet become, what behaviors were we still attached to that we hadn't let go, that doesn't allow us to be our highest selves. And then that full moon that happened last week is intimately tied to this Libra eclipse that we're having also, because we can think of these eclipses as on ramps, but in this instance, I'm thinking of these as off ramps because we're so much letting go. So an on ramp, if you're a car driver, you get onto the on ramp to get into like the super highway or something. But on the off ramp, you're leaving. You're getting off that that highway, and that highway is built with all of these like past patterns, past relationship dynamics, all of these behaviors that you haven't been able to let go, and how those behaviors likely formed from your earliest attachments in childhood, how they still are informing your business and how you go about leading with leading with pride, leading with authority, or if you're still falling into those maladaptive behaviors of Libra, people pleasing, fawning, trying to be everything to everyone, keeping the peace, all of those things. So that super highway, we can think of it as we're just saying goodbye at this eclipse that's coming up for Libra, of all of those past relationship patterns, because ultimately how we find ourselves, how we understand ourselves is in relationship to other. So this eclipse, it's saying we're going to say goodbye. I know we said goodbye before, things still manage to stay on, people like try to get back into your life, you think things are going to change, they don't change, we still get to say goodbye again, even if you said goodbye before. And so one of the things that I really see, thinking about the soul customer, of course, but the ideal of how do we attract those customers that most need us, that most respect us, that are of that highest quality, that are able to pay ourselves living wages, that are able to pay us what we have for our value, are able to acknowledge all of our gifts without us having to hustle or prove or overgive. If you've been having troubles with client attraction or pricing, or having like money in your pocket and paying yourself a good wage, this eclipse season is going to really shake things up so that you can fully see everything. So I hope I know I'm going into like a lot of different, everything feels kind of tangled up right now, but I hope you kind of like get the gist of what I'm coming to. So I want to share 5 mistakes when attracting your soul customer or not attracting your soul customer. And I want to answer a couple of questions that people have asked in Instagram and Facebook. So let's get to those questions first, actually, because I think this is going to go so beautifully into the 5 mistakes that I want to take a look at. So the first question comes from Sarah Histand of Mind and Mountain. Sarah and I have been working together for a while now, and I've seen her business do some wonderful things. Um, Sarah asks, it's that client attraction has been feeling stagnant lately. Does client attraction ebb and flow? Ah, such a beautiful question and such an honoring question, right? Because I think a lot of times we're led to believe that once we have a business, once we've unlocked the business model and figured everything out, that it's just going to stay that steady course, that it's going to keep on growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. But that's not the way that a real regenerative business or a cyclical business or a business that is, dare I say, post-capitalistic grows, right? If we're truly working with nature, and if we're truly honoring the energetics of being a living creature on this earth, everything ebbs and flows, everything evolves, everything shifts. And so I know that this has been a major theme for my business, for other clients that I've witnessed, just seeing things on social media, is that when, during the pandemic, when we were all forced online, and if you have an online business, we were all forced online, we were all trying to make connections, and people who had online businesses, we saw our businesses really grow and really, really thrive. Now, and we had the Sagittarius, Gemini um, nodes, the lunar nodes for the collective, the mundane lunar nodes, where in Gemini and Sagittarius, really bringing to life knowledge and sharing information and meeting online. There's an aspect of Sagittarius that kind of rules the world wide web. And so thinking about that time from 2019 all the way to like 2022, so many of us were meeting online, and we saw our businesses expand because we were there having these online businesses. Now, if we still have these online businesses, we are being asked to evolve and shift, because people are not desiring to sit in front of Zooms anymore. Even like myself, I know that I'm doing my best work when I'm like maybe chatting with a client on Voxer or on the phone while I'm on my morning walk, where there's movement. Now, because most of my community is global, that happens because I'm a Gemini rising, and I have that Sagittarius ideal customer. I have clients from all over the world. And so being able to still meet them online, I had an online business before I even knew what an online business was. I'm digressing. But even in my online business, we've had to kind of shift and change. When we look at your individual natal chart, we can look at base certain planets as they are going through your seventh house. We can look at the larger rhythms of Saturn as Saturn maybe crosses the midheaven. Like for you, Sarah, your Saturn is crossing that midheaven. And well, Saturn brings in some tenacity and wants us to master and like work smarter. Where it also goes, it tends to kind of contract, because we're so focused on how do we make things better, how do we polish things up, how do we crystallize things. And so what I would gather, Sarah, in your business, especially with Saturn crossing over your midheaven, is that you are getting clearer on what you want to provide, the services that you want to provide, as well as your mission, your ultimate mission that you're delivering on is shifting a little bit. So of course, until you are able to like really galvanize and get really clear on how you're fine tuning your offers and how you're fine tuning your mission, your soul customers are going, huh, what is Sarah doing? Now, Sarah, I know that you have a lot of soul customers and community members who absolutely adore you, that are just waiting to see what you're gonna come up with next as you evolve, as your business changes and shifts. I bet you so many of them are going to stay with you. And then this is also now asking, okay, well, if so many have stayed with, but then so many else have left, where can I go to bring in more people, to bring in more visibility, to connect with spaces and places that I haven't been before? And so, in the terms of ebbing and flowing, 100%, but you can ebb and flow also. So maybe you've gotten out of the habit of collaborating for more visibility, or maybe gotten out of the habit with like doing guest posts or guest podcasts in other places. So, this is definitely a time to reach out and get in front of newer audiences and to talk to those new audiences as well as your existing audiences, and to share the shifts and changes that have been going on internally in your business, as our businesses do. They're always shifting and changing. And so, definitely get out into new places, and also thinking about, because Sarah, your business has been mostly online, and you have that Capricorn descendant. And that Capricorn descendant, I feel, and especially with just the Aries Libra nodal axes right now, that Aries North Node, and you have a packed 11th house, you're still bringing people together and platforms together, friend groups and network groups. I still see you really bringing people and inviting people into live in-person containers that are going to add to your online containers. I want to see how that is for you right now, also with the North Node sitting exactly on top of your moon sign, trusting how your emotional body is showing you the way. Like that is that's really, really eminent for you right now. So thank you, Sarah. I love that question. And for all of us, 100%, just knowing that all of us are going through an energetic shift with our soul customers, and with the online business climate changing, with the economy shifting and changing, simply because it's much harder to get access to money, and loans makes things seem more expensive with inflation. And so people are much more discerning in terms of how they're going to spend their money, but they still want to spend money. People still want to spend money on the connections and on the services that they absolutely need. And so, even more importantly for all of us, is to know exactly who we are, what we are here to offer through our superpowered gifts of our sun, and what our soul customer needs from us based on our design. Okay, so that's definitely one way. So, as we're thinking about this eclipse and all of the old relationship dynamics in your business, I want you to think about what you're done with in terms of serving certain clients, what you've grown out of. Maybe you've shifted and you don't want to offer a service anymore. Maybe you want to close a group or a container, or maybe you want to let go of some clients to like make room for new clients. Or maybe you're like absolutely bored to pieces doing what you've been doing and don't want to do it anymore. It's okay to let go of things, to get to the energetics of what is not serving you anymore. So, for example, if you have a client that you just know that you haven't been wanting to work with for a long time, or a type of client, you can simply just say, okay, I'm going to be done with that client, and just send them a closing contract, right? That could be a number one way to do it. But a better way to do it would be to reflect deep inside internally and get to the energetics of what you don't enjoy working with that client anymore. Could it be that this client just doesn't ask you for things until the last minute? And maybe what you really desire is to have a longer on ramp to be able to do a better, more thorough job with more time. Or maybe this client is always like undermining you or asking you to prove your work. And what that shows you is that you're really desiring a client to trust your expertise. Or maybe a client is always asking for more and you seem to just be over delivering simply because they asked instead of asking for more money. And then that leads you to ask yourself, hey, am I valuing what I offer? Am I respecting myself? And if I'm not respecting myself, no wonder I'm people pleasing and letting people walk all over me. And that client doesn't have respect for me. So, do you see how we're trying to get into the energetics of the relationship dynamics of what you don't want anymore? And all it takes is a simple asking yourself that question of, what don't I like about working with that person or working in that container or working in whatever you're ready to let go of? Because you're going to find that clue in that relationship dynamic that you can be done with, let go of once and for all. And if you're watching this on video, you can see that I'm just kind of like shaking my hands, like I'm getting like water off my hands, like I'm done with this. Right. So that during eclipse season, when we have that Libra new moon eclipse, you're letting go of all of that space for the clients that no longer serve you, that you no longer want to serve, and letting in room for more collaborative, co creative, committed relationships. Okay. So I want us to think a lot about that, especially as we go into this eclipse season. The next question comes from Chris. And Chris mentions, from day one of my business, I struggled with falling into thinking and marketing to my current friend group. Thing is, I know in my soul they're not my client. All the marketing gurus tell you to start with your friends and family. This has really got me off track. It's like my friend family group is that kid in class with their hand waving, saying, pick me, pick me. But when I focus on what they want, it doesn't resonate with me or my business, and it isn't something they're willing to pay for. Ah, yes. So the short of the question, how do I separate my soul client energy from my day-to-day friends and family energy, which keeps bulldozing my client energy? Ah, Chris, what powerful awareness and insight. And your answer is right there in your question. The very third sentence you asked, the thing is, I know in my soul they are not my client. Yeah. So my question is, why do you keep on hanging on to them? What is it about that need to be connected to them, even though they're not a right fit for you? What is it in you that doesn't yet want to let go of them? That's really the question. And this is a great awareness, especially for this eclipse season, because if you keep on picking them as your soul clients and offering them, you don't have time to serve the clients who really, 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 really need you. Now, yes, when we're starting off with a business, right, oftentimes we hear our business and marketing gurus to say, like, okay, who's in our friends and our family groups? How can we serve them? And I have never really been a fan of working for friends and family. Now, I love it when my clients turn into friends, which so many have. But when they start off as friends first and then you work from them, there's always an unsaid expectation, like they're maybe expecting a friends and family discount, therefore like devaluing your work. Maybe they're looking for all of these like special insider treatment, which then it's out of obligation. It's not because you want to surprise and delight them. And when a marketing guru says, start with your friends and family, it's oftentimes because you're testing out an offering to see if this is going to really work. Oftentimes, your friends and family will know you the best and things like that. But Chris, I'm guessing that you've been in business for quite a while, that you are well beyond testing. Okay. So again, this doesn't mean that clients can't become friends, but when you're working for friends and family, it's so important to be able to put your boundaries up. Okay. They're going to have different expectations of you, and you can't be giving away all of your work because you, my friend, still need to be paid for what you deliver. You still need to pay the bills. You need to survive. You need to thrive. And so when you're working with friends and family, if friends and family are really coming to you for a legitimate thing, they want to work with you, you can simply say, like, hey, I don't have any friends and family discounts. Like, I would still love to work with you, but I still have to pay my bills. Here's a contract. Okay, especially with friends and family. If you are going to decide to work with friends and family, absolutely need a contract of the scope of the project, of what you're going to do, of what the costs are, of the payment plans. Everything needs to be spelled out to protect that relationship 100%. Okay. With friends and family, you can decide if you have extra space to give them a discount. Never, ever, everybody listening here, never, ever, 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 ever deliver anything for free. Anytime you deliver something for free, there is no investment, there's no value exchange, and the person who is receiving that free gift will not value it. Now, in my communities, I often offer scholarships. And sometimes these scholarships are vast scholarships. I don't normally advertise my scholarships, but when I see people who are really struggling and financially and want to participate, I always talk to them and have an honest and frank conversation saying, I want you in here. What is the minimum that you can afford? Because there has to be an energetic exchange to prove the commitment. That's the Libra. That's the one-on-one connection that makes somebody a soul customer, is the commitment. In your personal life, when you have a marriage, that seventh house aspect, there's a commitment, there's a marriage vow, there's a signed contract with your marriage license. The same thing with a soul customer. If there isn't an energetic commitment, that's not a soul customer, my friend. You're just giving your shit away for free. Oops, excuse me. so Chris, you're saying, how do I separate my soul clients from my day-to-day friends and family? Figure out the number one, figure out the dynamic, why you're so attached to saying yes to your friends and family all the time. What is that relationship dynamic say about what you think about yourself and what you're done with feeling that way about yourself, so you can let that go during the eclipse. And then number three, look to your seventh house cusp and really fine tune who your soul customer is and start calling them in. You've been leaking all of your energy, and maybe your friends and your family are wonderful people and maybe they're well deserving, but it doesn't sound like it from the from the post that you left, because you mentioned that they are bulldozing you. So don't let them. Simple as that. Simple, not simple. All right, Chris. I hope that that served for you. So those are some beautiful questions. Thank you so much for those questions. I'm going to be shifting some of the energy from my free Facebook group, Star Powered podcast, simply because I've noticed that that energy no longer serves me. I don't find myself going onto Facebook anymore. And it feels like an obligation. It doesn't feel fun and light for me anymore. So if you're wanting to connect with me on social media, I'll be starting to ask these questions in my stories. And I might be opening up that Instagram channels. So if you want to communicate with me in Instagram and asking me questions that I might answer on this podcast, please send me messages on Instagram. That's going to be the best way from now on. Even I am letting things go. We're doing a lot of changes in terms of our soul customer. I've been working with my business coach and I've been working with my team as we're kind of crafting the offerings for 2024, like the community and the circle, and how I'm going to offer the Astrobrand readings, how I'm going to start putting people on the certification, the Astrobrand certification track. And so even as my business is evolving, I'm going through these exercises with you as well, with really speaking to what my soul customer needs from me and how I can show them that pathway forward. So even I'm doing this here all right with you. So let's go through the 5 mistakes when when attracting your soul customer or when not attracting your soul customer. Okay, number one mistake that you might be doing is that you're trying to attract everyone. Okay. We've all been there before. And I still find myself doing that as well. Right? Like thinking about like my soul customers with the Sagittarius, they're purposeful people, their visions, they want to answer a deeper why, they want to have impact on the world. That's why I call them their visionaries or change makers. But in a certain way, I'm looking to attract executives. I'm looking to attract people who love astrology, that want to teach astrology in their own businesses. Um, I'm looking to for the astrology seeker who wants to be in community. And I haven't been doing a very good job because I've been trying to attract so many levels of clients. I've been really good with focusing in on the astrology aspect and the leadership aspect, but there's still some learning to be done here. So, when you try to attract everyone, you're not able to use the specific language that people will identify with. Right? You might be saying, "Oh, I work for healers, or I work for change makers, or I work for coaches." But if you have that, say you have that Capricorn on the descendant and you're working for those coaches, right? Instead of just saying, I work for coaches, you could, because that Capricorn energy has that tendency to like overdo it and work out of obligation and duty and just be like so hustle and grind. You can be talking to the coaches that want to move from hustle and grind to working smarter to get their goals. Isn't that much more specific? um, I'm gonna pull up another chart just to see like who else we can talk to in terms of so here's another client who talks about forgiveness, right? And this client, she's really connecting with people who want to get over forgiveness and get over shame. But in her chart, she has that Scorpio descendant, and with that, she also has Mars and Mercury and Neptune in there. And she also has this pattern of cycle breaking. And so not only is she working with people who are trying to get over shame and give and guilt and get to their forgiveness, but they're trying to get over inherited shame that they have inherited from their parents and their parents' parents through intergenerational shame. So much deeper, so much more specific. Okay, number two mistake, not knowing yourself well or acknowledging your own evolution. We've been talking a lot about this, right? How do you know yourself well? Well, are you working from your sun sign, or are you still resisting your sun sign and the superpowers that need to come through? Are you stuck in the shadows of your moon sign? Are you resisting your leadership from your rising sign? Do you even know what those things are? If you don't know those things, your soul customer is never going to be able to find yourself. Find you. You have to be resonating from that highest of your own energy and acknowledging your evolution. If you haven't been tracking how you personally have shifted and the things that you want to grow into and the things that you want to leave, this is also going to track back to with not knowing yourself. Okay. Number three, not understanding your soul customer design or what they need from you. Now, to be able to speak to your soul customers' pain points and their desires and their dreams is to be super, super, super specific, knowing how they are using, what words they are using, but also then changing that language and interpreting what they're saying to what you see as the real problem. Remember that the archetype on your seventh house cusp gives you that archetypal energy of your soul customer and all the evolution from the shadow, their pain points to their fears to their highest evolution and their light with that kind of highest evolution of that archetypal energy. And if you have planets in that seventh house, that's going to give you more specificity of the shadows that they're dealing with and what they want to flip that into with their dreams. Again, I go through that in detail in my training, Star Powered Position. So if you want in on that, let me know. Number 4, not speaking their language. So I kind of alluded to this in answering number 3, is that sometimes we have a certain understanding and a certain interpretation of what's happening, but we need to be listening to the real words and the real issues and the real problems that our clients are saying. So I hear my clients saying, I don't know who my soul customer is. And that's how they come to me, because they really want to know their soul customer. But what I see the problem really being is that they don't know themselves yet and their own identity yet. But I still have to acknowledge that they think that and acknowledge what they think their problem is and how to speak to that problem. So pay attention, put on your spidey ears, dictate those exact problems that your soul customer is asking, and then make your interpretation so that they can understand it from their point of view. Okay. And number 5, if you're not making personal connections to potential clients, especially high touch clients, then you're missing out, right? Like, I sent all these emails, I put up all these social media posts, and I haven't heard anything. Sometimes all it takes is a personal invitation. Sometimes, and not slimy, like don't be like dropping like spam into people's DMs or anything, but people that you know that you really truly want to work with. Sometimes all it takes is a personal message about why you want to work with them, what you see that you can offer them, and how honored you would be to be able to co-create something with them. That takes you a very, very long way. So make those personal connections, whether you want to drop people like a personal loom or a personal email or a personal voice message. Make those connections. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It simply needs to be heartfelt. All right, my friends, this turned out to be a little bit longer episode than I thought it was going to be, but I hope that this episode left you with seeing all the places that you're ready to be done with in terms of your client and soul customer relationship interactions and dynamics. And that gives you so much more space to be open to what is waiting for you after this Libra eclipse. So next week, I'll be talking about eclipse season and what that has in store for us. All right, my friends, talk to you soon. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.